So what am I trying to talk about today? It's about how do we blossom talent, because I think that you're saturated with business plans and evolutions of economics and IPs and the ITs. So I wanted to talk a little bit how I pick up a talent out of the school and what do I do with these people. Maybe it's interesting, maybe it doesn't interest you at all, but I thought it's something I've never told, and I thought it can be interesting for at least young people in the future. I have to do many things at the same time. Stars. So let's start with the stars, because I consider that every student, every kid who is born and who goes to school, when they are finished, they are stars. Now, some of them, of course, you will see, will shine hard. Some of them will sometimes never get noticed. But out of all these stars and all these talents, if they are combined together, something beautiful can grow. What we do with these stars, it's not magic. It's only a human relationship. It's finding the right person out of all this group of talents who is going with your own personality as a kind of mentor, as a kind of supporter, with some rational know-how. You find the emotional counterback for yourself. So, and when you find the emotional counterback, you can really be in a super synergy and then to work and grow. So that's most of the time what I try to do. And I will later explain you a little bit how I found this with Anne and with Haider. But that's for the end. So when you select talents, so most of the time, and if somebody wants to do my job here, then you should listen very carefully. It is that you have to look for a unique voice of one of those fantastic stars, the one who has a vision. And that's not very simple, because many students, they want to be a designer, many they want to make clothes, many they dream of having their own collection, but very little have a real vision. And a vision is not something for one season, it's something which you have to have for a long time. So it is never short-time vision, because then we speak about product, and that's fine too. There is really a place under the stars for everything. But when we speak about creation and creativity and innovation, then it is always long-term vision. So look for the one who has a clean vision, how he wants to see his woman walking on the street, because that's what you want. One day after 4, 5, 6 years to encounter a stranger who is wearing your clothes on the street, not one of your friends. Because that's the mistake of many youngsters, that in the beginning they have a fan club and they have their own friends who are wearing their clothes. But the biggest reward is when you walk in the street and you see somebody and they are wearing your clothes. Then that's the start of everything. But it can take a long time. So when you find this person with a vision, of course, it has to talk to you, and it has to have a touching universe. You know, like the universe has to speak to you. You have to understand it. It has to be also in the moment. It's not something that has to be from the past or too far in the future. Some designers can have a vision for too far in the future. It's also difficult. We had some of the youngsters who came to us, and they had really clean views, but they were just too early. And we didn't succeed with them. And if then 10 years after or 10 years later, you look at what designers at that moment are doing, then at that moment I said, we missed the moment because he was too early. It happens that people are too early. So be aware of that. If somebody tells you you're too early, it can be true. Huh? It is not something, then you have to calm down a little bit, go back to travel, go in the world, look what happens, and then reconsider your vision, because it is also a problem. Being too old-fashioned is a problem, but being too fast is also a problem. So The moment is quite accurate all the time. So your creative environment has to be coherent. So you have to have a relevant aesthetic for modern times, of course, because we are living in modern times. And you need also technical skills. Now, the technical skills is usually what you learn the most in the academies, because that's where you learn to make patterns, you cut, you sew, you do all and everything yourself. It's very important. But when you come out of an academy, it's only then that it starts. It takes you another 3 years to really accomplish your own aesthetics, your own hand, because in the time of preparation, you can develop something, but mind and hands to coordinate this development, it takes longer than 4 years. So never think that you're already on, when you finish your schooling, that you already are you're a master in word, but you're not a master in hand. And that takes another few years. So be patient, because patience is a very red line through all our life in fashion. We have to be people with patience. If not, you can't, you only have to go for product. I'm talking only about creativity now. So that's for me a very big difference, because when you choose that you can make a beautiful product and you're good in that, that's super fine, but then you have to focus you on that and go to work in a company on product. That's not a problem, it's perfectly okay. But when you go for creativity, it's about soul, it's about your energy, it's about yourself. Actually, it is who am I and what can I take out from myself and give to the world. And what is this woman who is then walking? Who is she? Who is this? Or the man, of course, or the child. I'm talking about the woman because it's so obvious for me, but it can be child collection, it can be a men collection, it can be collection for women. So it's all to have the ability to translate emotions, and that's why I put these beautiful flowers, because flowers make you smile, and working in fashion should make you smile too. I can tell you that in 20 years I go to this fashion industry, every day I smile, and still today. If I see this fashion show, it's 4 silhouettes, but they touch me. And still I have that. When I go to a fashion show, even after 20 years, I can be in tears. And that's what it has to do with the person. So, on the consequence, we have also to share the same values. If I encounter a potential designer, I have to talk and talk and talk a long time with them and to see if we share the same values. Because my values as a company, they are set. I want to have honesty, I want to have transparency, I want to have a clean chain value, you know, like all my supply chain is clean, and I want really to know that where I produce is it can be followed, it is done under the right circumstances. That's also why earlier has been mentioned that we are partners in the United Global Compact, which is a controlled principle about human rights and child labor. So I will never, 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 my hands can fall off if I would abuse one of those or principles. So that is something I have to share with the designer. He has to be willing to follow these rules. If not, I don't start. It's very simple. You cannot lie to each other. You have to be open and honest, and because you have to look into each other's soul. Only when you can read the soul of somebody, you can help him. And maybe it sounds like being a psychiatrist. I can tell you that maybe 80% of my work is in the psychology and psychiatry line, but I like it. So it is about respect. It is, of course, about passion, and it is about care for quality. And this is where I really put a big hammer. And the ones who are sitting here who come from the school in Antwerp, they know that quality is something we really are very precious on. I was very recently in Namibia a few weeks ago, and I encountered one of the drivers there, and we were talking about economics and how is the development in this kind of country. And he said to me, Anne, this is really, you are all so stupid. I said, why? You make shoes, and I can run 12 years with these shoes. I said, so, that's good. He said, no. I want shoes after 6 months kaput, and then I can buy new. This is economic. And I'm like, okay, it's also a truth. For this man in his situation in Africa, being very poor, for him, this is his source of income. So I can understand it in that time of life. I say, okay, I understand. For us in Europe, in America, here, we're all busy with sustainability, with values, with new, completely new things in life, which they don't need today. They need money for food. So always be aware that where you are, where you talk, cultural differences are absolutely there. So if ever you have a product and you want to sell it in Namibia, know what you sell, because it wouldn't work and you would be disappointed. It can also be in America. So you have to understand all these cultures, all these people, the mind they have, because it can be completely different from yours, and you are not succeeding, not because of you, but because of the differences in cultures. So also know this before you start even in a business campaign. So that's where I said care for quality and all the human rights respect. So another slide, because I'm not so IT as you all are here. I'm very static. I can only make one shot. So I have here a beautiful quote from Émile Zola, who said, "The artist is nothing without the gift, but the gift is nothing without work." So you have to work. Without work, you don't come anywhere. So that's really a fantasy. It's for Disney to tell that the princesses are all getting fantastically married and whatsoever. If you study for fashion, fashion is a very hard labor work. For yourself, for the surrounding people, you have you need a lot of courage, a lot of passion, and not only you, but all the people who are with you. And there are a lot. When you start, you know immediately, you have pattern makers, you have technical skills people, you have commercial people, you need a bunch of people who all have the same motivation. Never accept somebody next to you who doesn't share your vision, who has not the same drive, who doesn't want to go for it 300%, because that's what we need, 300%. 100% is not enough. So that's fashion. Then we come to, you have found your talent, you have a good situation, you can smile together, and what are you doing then? You're going to position your talent. Huh? So you have to be honest. If I like the talent I have in front of me, and he is very good in product making, for me it's fine, but I have to position him well. I have to position him where he belongs, in the price range he belongs, in the area he belongs image-wise. So when I do that correctly, I can succeed, or at least I prepare the ground that the seed can grow. If I position him wrong, it's already a dead story, because it's like planting your seed in a ground which has too much water, and the seed will die. So that is a very, very important issue to start with. So make sure with the talent that you're both on the same wavelength, because if this is the case, you can go for it. So respect to the end customer, of course. The consumer, you can only exist when the consumer is buying you. Huh? I always say to my designers, you exist as long as somebody wants your product. The moment the consumer is not buying, you're not existing. It's very hard, and it happens. Sometimes after 3, 4 seasons, 5 seasons, it doesn't pick up, Be honest to yourself. Maybe your talents are somewhere else, and then you have to find, to discover these talents and go to chase that part, not to be stuck in something that doesn't give you the satisfaction you wanted or you deserve, basically. But you have to find then where is my strength and go for that part. So always respect the end consumer at the end of the day, and respect yourself and your integrity. So position where you belong to be positioned. And then I took your hand here. Your hand, I think that everybody who is in this field of fashion can look to his hand, and your hand is telling everything. So if I see the hands of a designer, I know what he can and know what he's capable of. So it's very important. You should compare each other's hands. All the artists, all the people, architects, you know, product designers, all of these fantastic creative minds, they have very special hands. So do that. If you meet somebody, look to the hands, because it's the soul. So that's why I say the hand is the visual part of the brain. Huh? It's showing who you are. So when all these hands are together, when the people are laughing, when we can talk together, we can start to develop a brand. So then we will start, first of all, there has to be a trust and a freedom. Always. It's a combination which cannot be separated. If I don't have trust and my designer has no freedom, it doesn't work. Because I'm the business part, I'm the rational part, my designer is the emotional part, and we are together in a good synergy. But I have to trust. She has to trust me. I have to give freedom. She has to give me freedom. So that's a very important line. So then you can elaborate the vocabulary of the brand, and you see my beautiful butterfly. So you start to make your DNA. Huh? A butterfly does it himself when he's in the cocoon, but we have to do it ourselves. But slowly, slowly you develop and you set your lines. It is also something that doesn't come immediately. It is something which develops throughout your collections, throughout your experience in making collections. But at a certain moment, it comes very clear. Now, once you found your DNA, please keep it. Because what you see is that sometimes they go on a very good road and, yeah, it works, and then they start to do something else. We have one designer who is always doing that to himself. Now, after already 15 years, he stands nowhere. So he's very good in something, he's successful, he's winning awards, and then he does something else because he wants to show something else. But no, keep doing where you're good in. Don't try other paths because you get lost. It's like being on a river and taking side paths and you don't know where you go to. So stay on the main river and follow your own DNA. So when you have found then this DNA, you can start to create your freedom. I call it create your freedom because that's what you do. Huh? Being independent, working for yourself, creating and being able to live from that, it's your freedom. It's your long life. If after, when it goes well, you want to sell, it doesn't matter. But this is basically your freedom. Being happy from what you live, from what you do, and smile with it. Very important is that you surround yourself with complementary creative talents. So you can't do it alone. Don't be happy with less than yourself. Always take somebody who knows more than yourself, who knows things that you don't know, just to make it complementary. It's not the time that you have to go to teach already to somebody else. That can come later, because you have to do that at a certain age. But in the beginning, take people who are stronger than you, always. So, next slide. Yeah, that's a little bit more into detail already on the pricing, product, and promotion. Yeah, I think the most important of all of this is to learn that you have to stay honest. Your price settings has to be transparent. Why do I say that? Not because I am so holy, but because your customer has to be able to read your work after a few seasons. If you go into a store and you pay a certain price, you can read it on the garment. You can also read it when somebody is cheating you. So you all know that, the ones who are in making clothes, you know all the work is visible on the inside, not on the outside. That's only appearance. But on the inside, you see all the cost. So be aware of that, that today the consumer is very smart. It's not from 20 years ago anymore that we had to teach them how to look at clothes. No, people know that. People know prices. So be aware of that. Promotion, be creative according to your means. And distribution is crucial when you want to position yourself in the world. There it's very important to choose a way of working. So either you go to fairs if you have product, either you go to showrooms, go then to the best place. For creative people, still Paris is a place to be. So London can be a good place, but there is still no sales. So you have to be there where the buyers are, where you are visible, where you can present yourself. Doing a show, no, you don't need to do a show immediately. There is no need. It costs a lot of money, and it doesn't help you immediately. It is, on the contrary, it can give a wrong impression that you are a big spender while you don't sell yet. So please try to establish first a ground before you go and do like, I'm the gorilla. Huh? So that is for after. Yeah, aesthetics, I don't have to learn new aesthetics. So here I say, you may think I'm small, but I have the universe inside my mind. This is a very important one. You're never small. The one who thinks small will stay small. The one who thinks big may have the chance to grow big. It doesn't mean you will have the chance, but you may one day have this chance. So that is something you have to keep very close to your heart. So we go to nurturing talents, always close to the reality. So I'm talking every day with them. So on a daily basis, we talk about everything, about choices of fabric, about emotions. Sometimes they cry. I have to be there. I listen. I talk. When they are making things which are not very coherent, I will tell them if they ask me. I will not tell them if they don't ask me. I don't interfere. But when they ask me, I will say honestly what I think. So always make sure to remain true to your values when you're growing, because that also, you're easily tempted to start making product. And that's what I have against the pre collections today, because we are in a time of pre already. Very intelligent, huh? So the creative industry has no word anymore, because they only have pre. So maybe all of you can invent a new word for that. I don't think that it's right. I think there is times for real creativity. Twice a year, product we have enough. So go for your soul. Go for who you are. Show the world that it is possible to be different. And not to make the next trouser in black fabric and the next white and the next yellow and the next green and the next composite whatsoever. Don't. So try to change the world, because the time is now. I think the last 10 years we've been saturated with product. We've been seeing big houses taking small names in-house to make product. Very, very painful. But a good designer goes his own way. He doesn't want to do what others tell him to do. So grow, yes, grow also organically. If you grow on your own shoes, grow organically, because you can fall in the trap of cash flows. I think all business people will tell you that. It's not my task to tell you, but still I say grow organically, and that's very important. So be also stay out of a danger zone. For me, a danger zone is when designers and creative people start to do because the other did also. Never look to the other. Look to yourself. It's not because the other is in Paris that I have to be in Paris. It's not because I have a customer in America that you also have to have this customer. Maybe this customer is not good for you. So do your own creative vision. Make your own path. It's really like in the old days, make your own house and your own path and make it different from somebody else. Business plans are business plans, but everything what is around the application of your business plan can be really something very unique to yourself. And according to that, you focus on your market and your values. Tac, tac, tac. So we say everyone wants to live on top of the mountain, but all happiness and growth occurs while you are climbing the mountain. So when you're on the top, it's very boring. It's a very hard and cold and lonely place. But the way to there is extremely nice. But when you're there, you can fall off. So it's very hard to stay on this little point and to defend yourself all the time, not to lose your business, all the time to be on the edge, always good, always appreciative, everybody likes it, everybody buys it. It's extremely difficult in fashion. So never think that when you are successful that it's already done, because then it starts going down. So always keep the drive of winning. And after 20 years, when you're maybe halfway this mountain, and you look back already and it's like very nice what you did. So you have a long way to go, 50 years maybe before you reach the top. That's good. About Anne. When I encountered Anne, it was a kind of, we were friends and our kids were playing together. And it was more a rational first contact. Like she had some financial issues, and I looked to financial issues because you all heard that I came out of pharmaceuticals, which was very different business. No emotion, it's only ratio. So although patients are emotion, so it's all right. It was rational thinking, and only the emotional part came in a second layer, that I started to look, what are you making, what are you doing? And I didn't like all the black because I was wearing Chanel and high heels, and I had nails like this, red, purple, yellow. And so I was a little bit afraid, like, what is this fashion? I don't know, I don't understand it, so I had to learn. It took me a few years also to understand her aesthetics, where it came from, where it was going to, before I really understood what can I now make out of it. Huh? So that was what I learned with her. What I learned the most of Anne is that she is a technical clothing maker. We call it kleermaker. It's a métier. I don't know how you call a métier in your language, but it's a métier. And that's the beauty of her. She's an architect in her soul, with a lot of challenge for herself. And when I met Haider, it was, I call it, an accidental emotional rencontre. So it was, I met him, and it was like, boom. I don't know why. I think it was his charm, his emotion, his beauty of talking. It was a completely different encountering. And I felt, and I was like, okay, let's go for it. Not the way to the mountain is very heavy. It's a very rocky one, but it's a good one. So that's the two main designers we are carrying. I have some designers in incubation, which is Chapelle, which I try to, Jean-Paul Espagnard, which I try to support mentally, and most of it still in the level of guiding himself to find really his true talent, and to get that on the rails. So that is the most challenging in the beginning. We are only busy for a year or 3. That's very young. As you know, that hider I consider even after 7 years to be a starter. So that's the way it is. And only after 10 years you may consider yourself as, okay, now I can grow. So that is what we do in hider. It's it's a lot of emotion. Is that okay for you? Do you have questions? Can I do something else? Besides saying that it's not the strongest or the most intelligent who will survive, but those who can best manage the chance. Because that's also something you need, some chance.
I was right and I was right. Oh, the sun was rising from the field. Got a feeling I just can't shake. I got a feeling that just won't go away. You've gotta just keep on pushing and keep on pushing and push the sky away. And if your friends think that you should do it different, and if they think that you should do it the same, you've gotta just keep on pushing and keep on pushing and push the sky away. And if you feel you got everything you came for, if you got everything and you don't want no more, you've gotta just keep on pushing and keep on pushing and push the sky away. And some people say it's just rock and roll. But it gets you right down to your soul. You've gotta just keep on pushing and keep on pushing and push the sky away. You've gotta just keep on pushing and keep on pushing and push the sky away. I was right and I was right. Oh, the sun was rising.
I think we have time for one question, I'm afraid.
Oh, I was 10 years in pharmaceuticals, in nuclear medicine. So I was working in isotopes, molybdenum, uranium, all these kind of things. So it's also a niche market.
And so,
I considered that everything I did was niche market.
And so how did you decide you wanted to move towards the fashion?
Oh, it's really by accident. I didn't dream of fashion at all. I was a medical formed person. I really had no intention of fashion, and I had no affinity with fashion, besides that I was dressing myself well. But Anne was my friend, and she had a problem at a certain moment, and she came to ask my help, and I promised to help, and I'm quite a loyal person. So after 2 years, I decided I will stay, and then I have to do this well. So I started to study fashion after 2 years, and I'm there 20 years now.
It's been an honor to have you here with us, Ms. Anne Chapelle. A big hand for... And thank you very much for joining us for the BODW event. Thank you.